In the middle of a vast forest, where tall trees block most of the sunlight, an old wooden house stands quietly as if it has been forgotten by time itself. There is no clear path leading to it, only traces left behind by nature, vines wrapping around the walls, moss spreading across the broken roof, and silence that stretches endlessly. There are no human voices, no signs of life, only the wind, and a long, lingering stillness. Thanh appears from a narrow path outside the forest, pulling a simple suitcase behind her. Her footsteps are soft, yet distinct against the damp ground. Light filters through the leaves above, reflecting gently on her golden hair, creating a scene that feels both real and cinematic. She stops, not stepping forward immediately. Her gaze rests on the house. A brief moment of stillness. Not hesitation, but awareness. The house in front of her no longer holds its original form. Part of the roof has collapsed, exposing wooden beams like cracks in memory. The front door leans slightly, as if one stronger gust of wind could bring everything down. And yet, it still stands. Not complete, but not gone. She walks forward, step by step, unhurried. She reaches out and touches the door. A thin layer of dust falls from her fingertips. A faint sound breaks through the silence, small but enough to shift the atmosphere. She pushes. The door opens with a dry, dragging sound. Inside, it is darker. The space is filled with shadows and dust. Light enters only through broken sections of the roof and walls, forming thin beams suspended in the air. She steps inside, says nothing, only observes. The wooden floor creaks beneath her weight. Some parts are weakened, some still hold their shape. To the left, a table stands unevenly, one leg broken. Further in, a chair sits covered in dust and spiderwebs. Nothing is intact, but nothing is completely useless. She walks slowly through the space. Her hand moves across the wall. Paint peels away in small fragments. But underneath, the structure remains strong. She stops in the center of the house. Does nothing, says nothing, just stands. A moment of stillness. Not empty, but filled with thought. Her eyes move from the floor, to the walls, then to the ceiling. Everything is old, but not gone. She walks toward the window. The frame is partially broken, but enough light still passes through. She looks outside. The forest remains unchanged, unmoving, unaware, but that unchanging presence highlights something else. She turns back toward the house. This time, it feels different. Not abandoned, but possible. Not immediate, not easy, but possible. She steps outside. The light is stronger. The air is clearer. She takes a deep breath. Closes her eyes for a brief moment. A moment of stillness. Not to rest, but to decide. She opens her eyes. Looks at the house again. No longer distant. No longer forgotten. Only an idea. A direction. A purpose. She places her suitcase down. Does not open it. Does not rush. Just places it there. As a sign. That she will stay. Not to observe. But to transform. And in that moment, the story begins. The next morning, the forest no longer holds the same stillness. Not because nature has changed, but because people have arrived. From the narrow path leading into the clearing, footsteps begin to echo. Not rushed, not chaotic, but steady and clear. Thanh returns, and this time she is not alone. Behind her is a small team, each carrying tools, each with a role. There is no introduction, no noise, only quiet understanding. She stands in front of the house. Does not hesitate, does not overthink. She simply signals, and everything begins. The doors are opened fully. Light floods inside. The dark interior begins to shift. The team steps in. No rush, no confusion. Each person takes a position. Each begins from a different corner. Old objects are carried out. The broken table, the worn chair, fragments of wood. Everything is removed piece by piece. No longer scattered, now organized, structured. Thanh works with them. She bends down and grips a rotten beam. Pulls. It snaps easily. Not surprising, but revealing. Everything has weakened. A moment of stillness. No one speaks. Only movement. Wood dragging. Footsteps. Materials shifting. A silent rhythm. Consistent. Once the interior is cleared, the next phase begins. Demolition. No more preserving. No small repairs. A reset. A hammer is raised. One person holds. One strikes. A loud impact. A wall breaks. Dust rises. Light cuts through. Space expands. Thanh watches. Not immediately acting. Observing. Then she steps forward. Takes the tool. One strike. Not excessive, but precise. Another section collapses. The structure continues to open. Walls disappear. The roof is dismantled. Wood is removed beam by beam. The original form fades away. Only fragments remain, but even those are temporary. The process continues. The old frame is evaluated. What stays? What goes? Thanh moves around. Her hand touches each support. Each beam, not to feel, but to decide. One remains. One is removed. No emotion, only clarity. Another moment of stillness. But now, it is focus. As the old structure disappears, the land becomes open. No longer a house, but a foundation. Not empty, but full of potential. The next stage begins. Ground preparation. Larger tools appear. The earth is dug. Layers are turned. Change begins from below. Thanh watches closely. Not just the surface, but deeper. The foundation. Something unseen when complete, yet essential. She nods. The signal continues. Concrete is poured. Slow, steady. Each layer placed with precision. No excess. No shortage. Time moves. Unnoticed. Uncounted. Only work. Then, structure begins to rise. Steel frames. Vertical lines. Defined shapes. No randomness. Only intention. Thanh stands within it. Not still. Moving. Checking. Adjusting. She doesn't speak much. She doesn't need to. A glance. A gesture. The team understands. The frame grows. Not a small house anymore. But larger. Wider. Higher. One level. Then two. Space expands vertically. Light flows more freely. Air moves without resistance. A moment of stillness appears. But unlike before. Not quiet. Not thought. But transition. Between what was gone and what is becoming. Thanh stops. Looks up at the structure. Says nothing. Shows nothing. Just stands. A brief moment. But enough. She knows. The work is not finished. But the direction is right. As the structure of the house becomes complete, the space no longer feels like a construction site, but something far more defined. No temporary shapes. No unfinished gaps. Everything begins to take form. Thanh steps inside. This time, the ground beneath her feet is no longer dirt. No longer broken wood, but a smooth, solid surface. Each step she takes feels stable, quiet, grounded. She pauses in the center, not to think, but to feel. A moment of stillness. Not empty, but filled with transformation. Light enters through the large glass panels that now replace the old openings, spreading evenly across the space. It is no longer blocked. No longer fragmented. It flows, touching every surface, expanding the space beyond its walls. She reaches out, touches the wall. No peeling paint, no dust, only smoothness. Complete. She walks further. The space is now divided. A wide area becomes the living room. A sofa sits at the center. Not oversized, but intentional. Warm lighting from above creates a soft atmosphere. Nothing is excessive. Everything is balanced. She walks through it, does not adjust, does not fix, only observes. A quiet confirmation. She moves to the right. A kitchen area. Clean, minimal, precise. Every detail in place. She touches the surface. Cool, but not cold. A new sensation, completely different from before. She pauses. A moment of stillness. Not from fatigue, but from realization. Everything has changed. She walks up the stairs. Each step is solid. No creaks, no movement, just stability. She reaches the second level. The space opens. Wider, lighter. A resting area. A bed. Neatly arranged. Soft light enters through a large window. Not overwhelming, just enough. She sits. On the edge. Does nothing. Says nothing. A longer stillness. No sound of work. No movement. Only presence. She looks outside. The forest remains the same. Unchanged. But from here, it feels different. Not because it changed, but because she did. She stands. Walks to the balcony. Open space. Wind moving gently. Light fading slowly. No rush. No urgency. Only rhythm. A calm rhythm. She stands there. No pose. No performance. Just existing within the space. The house behind her is no longer the one she first saw. No decay. No abandonment. It is something else. A place to live. A place to begin again. She turns. Walks downstairs. Everything is complete. Lights turn on. Warm glow fills the house. Not strong, but enough. She walks through each space. Every step confirms it. Nothing is missing. Nothing needs to change. Everything is enough. She stops at the door, looks outside. Night begins. Natural light fades. Only the house remains illuminated. Standing in the forest, quiet, but present, she steps outside, turns back, looks, says nothing. A moment of stillness. Not empty, but meaningful. Sometimes, value does not come from building something new. It comes from seeing what others ignored, and taking the time to transform it. She walks away, slowly, without stopping. Behind her, the house remains lit. Not as an ending, but as a beginning.